As Chief of Police, I think I would join with my colleagues around the county and basically saying that this was a tough year with this pandemic, and it continues to cause vast complications for operations and policing. We had officers that had to decide whether they needed to go home with their families, or were they in a position from vulnerable family members to actually have to live here at the police department within buildings and in the city and so on. And then we had to look at how do we work different shifts to minimize the level of impact, cross-contamination from between officers and their families and people they run into at home. And also we had to take it a different step and a different approach with how we respond to calls on the streets. In turn, I'm immensely grateful for this community. The outpouring of support they gave officers is unbelievable amount of stuff they brought to us, food, masks, anything they could think to help our department get through this pandemic while we continued our operations. I can't thank them enough for all the efforts they did to support us in this period. Our commitment to you is that we are going to continue to do everything we can do to reduce the crime in Whitehall and continue to collaborate with this community. From the 2020 Community Attitude Survey, we know that reducing crime is chief among your priorities for Whitehall. Over the past 3 years, we saw a 27% reduction in crime, we saw a 38% reduction in robberies, and a 46% reduction in burglaries, somewhat unheard of in this area. Racism and implicit bias have an unbelievably negative impact on the community members that we serve, and we recognize that. We've recognized that for years. Long before Ohio's collaborative had an expectation for police agencies around the state to have some type of early warning systems to help track and sort of prevent implicit bias. Whitehall was already doing it. Additionally, all of our police go through basic training when they go to the academy, which is a minimum of 40 hours of cultural diversity training. And then that for their entire career is annual training required both by our department and by usually continuing education requirements that come from APATA. Well, in the past decade, it's been transformative in many ways. Crime reduction has brought businesses into the community, has brought more residents, housing markets went up. It's all part of a bigger partnership with the community, with economic development and crime reduction. Those all sort of work hand in hand, and that's what we've seen over the last 10 years to help make people feel more safe in Whitehall. So this next 3-year strategic plan, while we want to continue to reduce statistics and the crime rate and all that in Whitehall, this is more about feeling safe in Whitehall. This is about the perceptions that people have of Whitehall that both live here and that work here and that visit this community. That's what this next 3 years is about. As part of the previous plan, we launched a series of Safer Whitehall town halls, which of course went virtual in 2020. And we're going to continue to do that in the next 3-year plan. As the Chief of Police, I always look forward to these events because of the importance of integrating our community's safety concerns into real action in our division. Even though 2020 was a difficult year for everybody, including police, it is overwhelming to us how much this community still reached out to us and still supported policing, and our police officers supported the community itself. And I can't say enough to thank that community, to thank city leadership and their support. This police department still felt more like a part of this community than we ever had before, and we're able to achieve things because of that support.